So digital infrastructure, you have recently acquired Volta data center in London, and I believe there's an even more recent acquisition, which we'll touch on in a minute. But at the time of buying Volta, that was your third data center, I think, after Verne Global in Iceland and Sea Edge up in Newcastle. So I guess to start with, why Volta, and what's the strategy with linking those three data centers together, as it were?
Yeah, well, we have three data center strategies that we're currently going after. One is a Nordic data center strategy, accessing areas where with rich in renewables, working with customers to migrate data sets and pools of data for processing needs to areas that are net renewable, not net hydrocarbon. And what I mean there is, of course, we can have a renewables facility in a net hydrocarbon market, but ultimately you're not really solving the problem. You're just shifting the problem to somebody else in reality. And so we believe, and part of the vision of the fund around D9 was really to play a meaningful role in that transition of data center capacity and this energy sink, we call it data center, and moving that into the Nordics where there is strong renewable energy. There's just a saying I often say, it's probably a bit silly, but it's easier to export data than power. And ultimately for us, that's at the core of it, because that's what really will drive more sustainable change within this data center industry, or telecoms and digital infra more broadly. So that so that's been at the heart of it. That's strategy one. Then we have a landing station driven strategy, and there it's about network hubs and realizing and building up and aggregating a portfolio of scale that taps into a broader global network. And of course, for us, and really also the Nordic data center strategy has really been benefiting from how do we use our Aquacomms network to really drive better connectivity, globally, but also to areas in the Nordics. And the Stellium acquisition, and I should be clear, it really is a financial asset play. Stellium is actually the operator, and we do not own Stellium. And so for us, that was just a realization that here's a great asset, a financial asset, more than anything, a real estate investment, with a offtake partner who we believe is strong, particularly because of its landing station location. So we're big believers in the opportunity set that Stellium are going after. Now that strategy as a whole, though, is looking at aggregating more operators and putting together this portfolio of scale across our international subsea landscape. And so that is, ultimately, we think that is a interesting strategy, but very early days for us. The final strategy, which is really where Volta fits in, is really around an edge or metro edge play, we call it. And for us, it's about finding sites that are often overlooked, but have really good connectivity. Volta itself is the best connected data center that's independent in London. And for us, that it really was the intrinsic value in this asset as an operator. Can we drive good connectivity for our customers right in the heart of central London? And that's what they do. So they're 2 blocks from Farringdon. So quite centrally located, quite a great location for the broader platform as well. Now, one of the opportunities that we've identified, of course, is to then how does that fit within the broader portfolio? And it's really interesting because what customers are increasingly realizing is that, can we do a pooled product where we can, buy some services at somewhere like the Volta facility, but then also access, the same rack product, but high density processing up somewhere like Iceland at our Keflavik site for Verne. So we think there is going to be quite interesting collaboration across those two businesses. And ultimately, when we do close on the acquisition that I'm sure we'll come to, that entity as well. And, customers want multi-site solutions. The fact is now we're offering a solution that both offers a central density, at least for London, central location, but also the ability to tap into 100% authentic renewable data center in Iceland and eventually Finland. So we think that's quite an exciting interplay between those two strategies.
Yeah, and in terms of Volta, the location, London, clearly a premier data center location, so I get that. Were there other things about the company that attracted you to them? And sort of part two of the question, do you see opportunity to grow that business, or as you've alluded to earlier, is it just but is it a part of an overall strategy which will deliver growth, but Volta itself will be a steady, sort of resource, or as I say, do you see some expansion there?
We definitely see expansion potential on site. Just in terms of utilizing that asset better or more efficiently. And no surprise, of course, our customer base within Verne, or vice versa, there's some interesting collaboration there. But that strategy as a whole, we would expect to look at other metro locations to also be a similar type facility. So we are interested in growing the asset, or that strategy, but the asset itself, it's a contained building, and we're definitely looking to optimize it. Okay,
and I believe as well, I mean, I can't remember when I saw this news, but it wasn't that long ago, and even since then, you've been busy. I believe you've got some news around a data center in Finland, is that right?
Yes, we were thrilled to announce, really at the start of Data Cloud Monaco, the acquisition of Ficolo. It's a multi-site business, one of the largest data center operators in Finland, and 3 different sites, and a really complementary fit within D9, and also a complementary fit, of course, with the Nordic data center strategy within Verne. So quite an interesting collaboration that we've got in store for that business in terms of utilizing and optimizing for the benefit of customers, site location, multi-geographic opportunities there for customers, but just a terrific management team who really believe in the greening of data. In fact, one just contributed to a book, if I plug his book, called Greener Data. And just at this, I have the same heart for the mission that we're on, to deliver good returns for investors, but to do it in a way that is creating some a sustainable change with environmental impact.
And in terms of the sort of slightly longer term growth strategy, obviously you don't want to give away any sort of secrets as to what you're up to, but how big, we're familiar with the names of the huge great data center operators around the world. Is that your ultimate ambition, to grow to that size, or will you grow to a certain size within your sweet spots, around the sort of things you've been telling us you're looking, you're focusing on? What's the thoughts?
I mean, yeah, it's hard to, I guess, frame it. But, ultimately, we think there's a lot of opportunity to keep doing what we're doing. Creating scale, moving quickly, and really, again, we really believe in this opportunity to tap into, that sustainable energy resource, which, by the way, is also secure, right? Who would have thought? Or I guess a lot of people in the energy business would have said this day is coming, but several years ago, in the telecoms world, would we be talking about a customer proposition of energy security is an attractive thing for businesses to move to the Nordics, or their data center business to the Nordics? But clearly, that is part of the proposition now: energy security, energy sustainability, and then of course the big one, which customers always like, is the power prices, which are quite attractive. But just in terms of size, we definitely don't have ambition to be an Equinix of the world or anything like that. We want to do what we do really well, and continue though to benefit from the scale and augmenting these different strategies. And we'll just continue to hopefully execute well, and we think there's a lot of opportunity. In Western Europe, but also globally.
And you touched there in your answer on the sort of some of the disruptors, sort of geopolitics, which, as you say, maybe certainly a year ago no one would have perhaps thought about the impact that would have had on energy prices. Sustainability, I guess, has been around for a longer time, but is perhaps becoming more of a focus. I mean, are you noticing, for example, it's always struck me, I understand why some data centers have to be, you know, in London, for example, you know, if you're trading there, you need a data center right next to where you're trading. I get that. But more generally, your idea of moving people up into the Nordics, where there's plentiful, cheap power and, you know, sustainable. Is that a trend you are seeing, that more and more companies are realizing that that's a, you know, as long as they don't have to have information in, you know, millionths of milliseconds, if you like, then they're quite comfortable with the, you know, fraction of an extra second it takes to access data up there?
Yes, you know, we certainly believe so, and customers are getting more, you know, smarter and smarter about their own latency needs in a cloud environment, and you know, ultimately identifying, you know, discrete sets of data and pools of data that they need to, you know, harvest information from is the easiest. It really is the first step, if you will, in that journey. But we think it's got a long way to go when you really, you know, when you really break down true latency needs. You know, I think there's still a distortion in the market from what needs to be latency, truly latency sensitive, but some of those are increasing in demand. I won't deny that. And we'd certainly, you know, one of the reasons why we like the Volta facility. You know, and some customers will find that they need on-prem, you know, processing needs, and certainly some of the cloud providers are seeing that and moving, you know, some of the cloud back to their premises. But you know, ultimately, we would still argue there's a big journey to go on there, not just in terms of the HPC, the energy intensive side of the data center needs, but data lake, of course, but even broader than that. You know, but you know, data sovereignty is clearly something the industry needs to do work on. Just some of the laws in place there, because I think that does hold back some of the optimization of energy utilization, at least from a digital infra perspective. I think they do need to do some liberalization on some of that to aid our customers. But you know, that's again, I think when businesses and governments realize the opportunity set to drive energy costs down, you know, I think we're in a ripe time for that, just given the broader geopolitical framework and, you know, commodity costs. So hopefully now is the time to really accelerate that conversation set.
Okay, and clearly it's not that easy to predict, but when are we going to have the next conversation? When's the next acquisition? I guess you're assessing various opportunities, but can we expect more, certainly during this calendar year, in terms of extra data centers being added to the portfolio?
Oh, we'd certainly hope so. You know, I can't say, but we'd certainly hope so. You know, we continue to look at the opportunity set, and again, the industrial logic of scale, of driving, you know, driving up multi-site platforms and taking single assets or even single country businesses and you know, and broadening that out into a multi-site offering around a strategy. There's a lot of value in that, and so we will continue to chase that.
Okay, well, I really appreciate you taking a bit of time out from your Monaco event. So, Thor, thanks very much indeed. Thanks.
No, thank you very much.